so happy we alive.
And they took over the government.
And when was that?
1893, January 17th, 1893.
Okay.
Today, the U.S. government is threatening to force President Saddam Hussein to flee into exile or face the military might of the U.S. government, because today the U.S. government wants the oil. They need the oil. That Iraq is one of the major sources and supplies of world oil. And just like Afghanistan, they wanted a pipeline, they wanted a gas line to go through Afghanistan to the former Soviet republics that are loaded with gas and oil. So in the summer of 2000, the U.S. government offered the Taliban a carpet of gold or a carpet of bombs. And the Taliban refused the offer for a carpet of gold because they didn't want to participate in the creation of the gas line, the pipeline that the U.S. government wanted. So they overthrew Afghanistan, put in a provisional government, and the same thing that happened in 1893 was done to Afghanistan. The government that was lawful is gone.
So they're putting a pipeline in now?
Yep.
Do you know where it runs from?
I don't. I've got other papers. It's all mapped out.
Really?
Yeah, it's all mapped out, and it'll connect up with the others that they have planned in that whole Middle Eastern area. So,
but what about? Don't you think Saddam is a menacing kind of guy with these?
I have no idea what the truth is. Weapons. He doesn't have anything compared to what the U.S. government has.
Well,
talk about weapons of mass destruction and nuclear bombs and chemical and biological war. The U.S. has more of everything on Earth that they accuse him of having. He doesn't have anything. Basically speaking, how could he be a threat to us, to the U.S. government rather, with their 7,000 some nuclear bombs and God knows how many gallons of all kind of biological and chemical agents? So, people in the United States are full of propaganda. The truth has not been told.
What are the main propaganda things? Just what comes to mind? What do people believe, which you would call pretend reality?
Well, they pretend that Saddam was a threat to the United States or to the Middle East. The people in the Middle East don't think Iraq's a threat to them, except perhaps Israel. But Israel...
Well, Israel's important.
Israel's important, but Israel has no legal existence. They have no legal reason for being there. In fact, the government of Israel was overthrown in AD 70 as a consequence of the Jewish political and religious leaders refusing to accept Jesus for who he really was. That's why the government of Israel went out of existence, because they refused to play the role that they could have played in the reinstatement of the lawful world government. The government of the people of this planet has been overthrown in a rebellion a couple 100,000 years ago, and to reinstate the lawful universe government on our planet, one of the means to that end had to do with the creator of the universe incarnating on this planet, being accepted by the people into whose jurisdiction he appeared, which was the Israelis. Melchizedek predicted all this 1973 years before Jesus and made a deal with Abraham. What he'd call a divine covenant was made with Abraham 1970 some years before Jesus, and that covenant was the beginning of the reinstatement of the lawful universe government. Now, Jesus was promised, the Jewish people were to expect sometime God's going to send you somebody that's going to tell you all the truth and set things straight and make this world right. Well, from the Jewish leaders' point of view, he came at the wrong time, from the wrong place, had the wrong kind of hair and the wrong kind of dress, the wrong kind of schooling. So the long and the short of it was the political and religious leaders refused to accept the gift that God had sent man, and they killed him. And the consequence of that, that broke the covenant that Melchizedek had made with Abraham. And the consequence of breaking that covenant was the destruction of the Jewish nation in AD 70.
Well, the Romans killed Jesus. I mean, historically, and
Well, Israel was part of the Roman suzerainty,
right.
and the Jewish religious leaders used the Roman administrators to get rid of Jesus. All the people were buying the message that Jesus had was very simple. Everybody is a son or a daughter of God. We're all sons and daughters of God. And the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man was his basic message. So the refusal to accept the truth resulted in the killing of the Creator. If Jesus had not been crucified, if the Jewish religious leaders had accepted him and followed his teachings, then there never would have been an overthrow of the Jewish nation. They were to have been taught by him. He would have lived a full life and revealed everything he could reveal to them. Then their mission on earth was to go out to the four corners of the earth with the truth and the facts and spread the information to the rest of the people of the world, so the rest of the people in the world could become acquainted with the fact of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of all humankind. And if he had been accepted instead of rejected, we would probably be under the aegis of a new form of world government of the people, by the people, and for the people of the world at this point in time.
And what about the Jewish people, though? You don't think they deserve to have a place over there? Or?
Well, based on the facts of life, no. Much as I love all the Jewish people, it's about law. This is a function of law. And they don't have any legal justification to reinstate their government. See,
You're saying that the Palestinians are right in this conflict between Israel and the Palestinians.
Yeah.
The Palestinians are saying, hey, that's our property.
That's right.
And the Jewish people are saying, hey, we have a right to this property. And you're saying the Palestinians are correct, that it is their property.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
right.
Jewish people should just give it up? Is that what?
Well, if they should become acquainted with the facts and the truth of life, and definitely they should not have reinstated themselves. They used this book, The Law of Nations, as part of the foundation for the reinstatement of the Jewish government in 1948 or 1949. But in point of fact, you have to go back to why did the Israeli government cease to exist? See, that's what has to do with, they don't have a right to reinstate themselves because they went out of existence completely. They were completely and totally overthrown. They were scattered to the four corners of the earth, and their nation was destroyed. And this was the consequence of their refusal to accept the gift that God had sent them in human form.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty simple at base level. And again, all this you can get out of the Urantia book. The whole story, the history of our planet is very, very clearly revealed.
And what's it? Does it talk about the future? Or what's going to happen?
Yeah, it talks a lot about the future.
What's it say is going on now, and what's going to happen next?
Well, there's a section here on page 1485 that deals with sovereignty. The Urantia lectures on page 1485 is when Jesus was doing his thing. He was traveling in the area, and at Lake Urantia he gave 24 lectures on sovereignty and brotherhood. And these lectures here, sovereignty, divine and human, political sovereignty, and law, liberty and sovereignty, it's a phenomenal revelation, because it gives insight as to what we need to do at this point in time. And that has to do with the creation of a new form of government of the people, by the people, and for the people of the world. Since every man, woman, and child on earth is a child of God, and we're all equal spiritually.
So you're talking about a world government?
I'm talking about a new form of world government of all mankind, by all mankind, and for all mankind.
This would not be the United Nations. It would be a different entity.
It would be the antithesis of the United Nations. The United Nations, as it stands,